Welcome everybody. If you don't already know me, I'm Indy. I'm a life coach specialising in codependency recovery. I'm 50 now, but by the time I was 33 years old, I'd gone through 2 nervous breakdowns brought on by narcissistic abuse. On my last breakdown, my business collapsed. I had to leave my partner, who was narcissistic, and his 3 children that I regarded to be my own. My biological daughter also left home because she was sick and tired of the toing and throwing that I was doing with this partner, and the relationship was turbulent. She was a teenager. What age was she? 18, I think, when she decided to leave home. So she was of the age of leaving home, but it was brought on prematurely from my breakdown through narcissistic abuse. As I left my partner and his 3 children and my biological daughter left home, my dog also died. So in 1 week, my whole life, every identity that I ever had completely collapsed. I was no longer a mother, I was no longer a partner, my business had collapsed, so I was no longer a business owner. Every identity that I thought I had at that point had completely disappeared. Everything I once knew had vanished, and I was just left with a gaping hole and a big question of who I was. I had no idea about myself. I'd spent years looking after everybody else and running myself like a machine, running myself ragged, people-pleasing. So if you're watching this video, I feel I can relate to what you're going through. This is a very painful chapter of your life, and I'm here to send you a bit of love and support. I'm here to tell you that you can, despite narcissistic abuse, recover fully and have a really lovely life, feeling very content and grounded in yourself, good relationships, a good business. I'm also here to tell you that there's a bigger reason why you've probably ended up breaking up with a narcissist or realising what narcissistic abuse is, the beginning of a spiritual awakening. Up until now, you've probably spent your whole life not knowing who you are, what you are, and the purpose of why you're living this life. You see, dealing with a narcissist kicks you out of an illusion. It's a necessary tearing down process for you to find yourself. It's painful, it's a stripping of the ego, but as I said, it is a necessary. It's necessary to your soul's mission for this to happen. You could not, or you could, but it would be a waste of your mission to spend years of your life not knowing who you are, where you are, and the purpose of being here. So narcissistic abuse is about kicking you out of the illusion, an illusion that millions of people are still in and probably will never leave. I want you to remember you're not alone, you're not broken. You can reach out to me in the comments, or you can drop me an email at info@vibe.institute. Moving on, my last interview. It has been amazing reading all your comments and connecting to this new forming community of awake and aware souls. It's also been brilliant getting your emails. If you have a story you'd like to tell, you can either email me and I will read your story out if it's relevant and will help the community, or alternatively you can come on for an interview, which I'll upload on to YouTube at some point. So if you want to come on for the interview, make sure what you want to talk about you're comfortable with sharing with the world. I hope you're liking the content. Wasn't it an explosive interview with Harald Kautz and Jerry Marzinsky? If you haven't already seen the video, I will link it up here somewhere. I know that many of you are very frustrated with that interview. I had even thought about not releasing it, but I decided in the end that it was still worth putting out. The reason I wasn't wanting to release it was I didn't really feel anything kind of got resolved in that meeting. The interview between Jerry and Harald was actually Harald's idea. I think I mentioned that in my previous video. He wanted to be challenged about whether narcissistic abuse could be resolved, if there was a solution for it. I think he'd reached out to Professor Sam Vanagan, is that his name? I'll leave it here somewhere. And Richard Brannan, I think, is the other one. I'm probably messing these names up completely. But he wanted to discuss whether narcissistic abuse was treatable, and he hadn't had any responses to any of them. So when I reached out for an interview request, being a new channel, he agreed to it on certain terms, and them terms were that I brought somebody on for a debate about the solutions of narcissistic abuse. I have asked them to come on for a second interview, either together or separately, because I had some questions specifically to Harald about targeting and his involvement in schizophrenia, particularly, not so much narcissism, but with schizophrenia and the voices. My questions to Harald would be along the lines of, is it possible for this to be voiced to technology, and are there any equipment that can be used along the electromagnetic field spectrum technology to read the EMF signals that are occurring in the room when one of these psychiatric schizophrenic patients has an outburst? It would be interesting to see if there's a fluctuation in the EMF fields at that point. I don't know if anyone's done any studies on that. If you know anything about that, leave some comments below. But I think you can see from who I brought in for my first interview, being Harald, where I am with my education of what's going on. I've deep dived into most subjects. I also had a schizophrenic grandmother who ended up with schizophrenia at the age of about 80 years old. According to official sources, it is rare for somebody to be diagnosed with schizophrenia past the age of 40. My grandmother was 80. And she, as far as I'm aware, was working when she was younger. Mentioned in my last video, which I'll link here and here, I did query this with my family maybe about 10 years ago, and they deny all knowledge of her working there, and my father denies all knowledge of telling me that. But as I said, I wouldn't know where or what this building looks like unless I hadn't have been in the car with my father at the time when he pointed at it as we were driving over the bridge to say that your grandmother used to work there. Has someone been messing with timelines, or is something being held back here? I don't know. My family are the typical narcissistic cult types, very emotional, neglectful. Therefore, I'm not likely to find out the truth about my grandmother's death or the cause of it until I probably pass it over and my mission here is complete. The only reason that it's really cropped up in my mind is, as I said, as far as I'm aware, you can only really get schizophrenia before the age of 40, and dying of just having voices in your head when you're in a facility, a secure facility like a nursing home, where she didn't commit suicide or injure herself, left me with a lot of questions in my 20s. So yes, it is a possibility that what Jerry has experienced with his patients could have been brought on by some kind of auditory, which that technology now has been around since the 80s, so it's old technology. Getting back to the frustrations in that video, some of you may be new to Jerry Marzinsky's work. We could conclude at the end of that video that both Jerry and Harald deal with very different clientele. Jerry's clients don't have an option of being consensual to treatment, whereas Harald's was. So I think that's why Jerry was butting in, saying, you know, these solutions that you're coming up with are just simply not going to work with a patient who is showing signs of, again, I still have a little bit of a inkling that this is instigated. Is you just out and out using technology on these people as a test, or are they summoning? If you remember the Olympics opening ceremony in 2012, it was and there was lots of flying around in that ceremony. So there was definitely indicators that they were playing around by perhaps summoning. So yes, I think Jerry was kind of saying to Harald that Harald's healing modalities are not going to work on somebody of that level. I'm aware of what Jerry uses for his healing modalities, and I use them in my online course. They're quick, they're easy. You don't have to go through years and years of trauma. You don't have to sit there like you do in a therapist session, where you have to pour out everything that has ever happened to you in the hope that a therapist is going to understand and put it back together for you in a way. I think counselling has proven not to work. It is the go-to mental health solution, and nobody's getting better. Well, the other go-to health solution is obviously drugging and zombifying these patients. The methods that Jerry used are quick. They can shift any limited behaviour, unwanted habit. They work on an array of things. So if you want to know more about that, you can drop me an email, or you can apply for the course. It's a little questionnaire that gives me a little bit of information about yourself. That's to make sure that everything that I put in that course is going to be suitable for you and is going to help you. So if you're interested in the course, the link will be in the description or the comment section. And you won't be seeing it in a therapist's office anytime soon, because it works, and it works on the first session, which is why it's going to be unpopular with therapists, because they don't need to see you for 6 to 8 weeks or 10 years or however long. It's one session, and 9 times out of 10, problems diminish, and other problems that have been related to the one that you've just fixed seem to just fall away. So let's talk about you. I don't know you yet, but I'm sure the reason that you're here is because you're going through it in your life at the moment. So it's paramount to, yes, look at these disorders, narcissism and schizophrenia, and work out where it's coming from. But what we're not doing by dealing with that is helping you. We're helping you give clarity, probably because a lot of you will still try and find a way of fixing that problem for somebody, for the other person. But we really need to focus on you. You can't help other people. You interfere with their process here as a soul and their mission if you try and take pain and issues away from them. That's why a lot of the time helping never really solves anything. So it probably will be one of your last normal reactions is to jump on board and help because you're empathic. But I think we can all say that it never helps. Trying to fix my broken narcissistic partner only resulting in the loss of my daughter. I tried to keep all that world together, and by doing that, I lost it all 10 years ago. So it's not the way. So as I said, yes, it's great to look at what these disorders are, but we need to now turn that focus and attention back onto you. A breakthrough moment in my life, maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, was realising that I was constantly complaining about narcissists and how they were treating me, so how the outside world was treating me. But when I was deeply honest with myself, I was treating myself in a narcissistic way. Things like not eating properly, not resting, not looking after myself, not listening to myself, devaluing myself, they were all parts of other people and how they were treating me that I didn't like, but I hadn't really realised that I was treating myself like that. And what you will realise in time, or through this channel specifically, is that the world is a complete mirror to who you are on the inside. It doesn't matter if you try and pretend to be happy. If you're angry, you're going to still attract angry people. If you're sad, you're going to have sad events happen. The world is set up for your soul's education, so it is a constant feedback loop. That's why people would say the law of attraction and manifestation doesn't work, but it does. And if you have a look around you, what you have now is a reflection of your inner being. It's absolutely, as I said, we live in a very intelligent design. It's really cool to me. I think something that happened to me about 5-6 years ago was that I had met a new friend through my little fur baby, my dog. And for about a year of speaking to this person regularly and meeting him with his dog and our dogs playing together and us becoming friends, I didn't delve into his personal life, and he knew nothing about my personal life. Year 2 go on, we open up, start talking to each other, and we realise we have exactly the same, almost exactly the same kind of upbringing, and fighting the same kind of wounds. I can give countless stories like that, but basically you will keep meeting people that are challenged with the same soul lessons as you at that time, and that's for good reason. That's so that your soul constantly is meeting opportunities to heal. So going back to treating yourself like a narcissist, do you devalue yourself? Are you isolating yourself? Do you feel or ever felt shame about yourself? Are you sleeping well? Are you resting? Are you looking after yourself? Are you listening to yourself when you need to maybe take a rest? If you're not, then you're treating yourself exactly how a narcissist treats you. Until you change that, nothing in your outside world will change. You can't expect your outside world to change your inner world. Your inner world changes your outside world. And that is because consciousness creates and dictates this realm, not the realm or the universe dictating consciousness. Consciousness creates our outward world. That's why the media is constantly trying to put you in fear, because collectively we're all attracting a very miserable future for ourselves. If everything on that TV and radio was of a positive light and inspiring for you, we'd have a different world. The powers that should not be do know the power of your manifestation abilities, even if you don't know them yourself. So, as I said, leaving a narcissistic relationship is kickstarting you into the true reality of what the world is like. The illusionary world that you did live will start to crumble and fall away. That process will feel very painful. You will try and grip it. But 10 years from now, if I look back to who that person was, I don't recognize them in how I looked, how I acted, and holding on to that partner. I wouldn't give that man the time of day now. And that's not through anger. I'm not angry. I just simply don't know what I see in that man. That's because of the healing that I've done. So this process, that narcissist, whether you'll see them as an enemy or it is a possibility, I don't know your life contract, but it's a possibility that that person was contracted into your life, agreed by yourself, to come in, to kick you into touch, onto the correct path, to find out who you are, if, say, for example, you'd veered off your path too much, which is clearly what I had done. So you can see it as a blessing, or you can see it as a curse. Because ultimately, that narcissist has now led you to this channel where I'm going to encourage you to really explore who you are. So right off the bat, as you know, I came straight in with spiritual talk. I haven't like hid behind any kind of, oh, this is all woo-woo, because it's important to find out who you are. I teach yoga, meditation, and breathwork in my codependency recovery course. And I do that not because I want you to work on connecting with your soul. Mainly, I want you to realize that before or even without, even if you don't do yoga or breath work, is that you are the soul. My communication that I'm having with you now is through my soul. My soul powers this body. My soul creates this life. There isn't sitting there for years trying to be a yogi to obtain connection with your soul. I want you to sit here just this couple of seconds and realize what I'm saying to you here. You are the soul. There is no grabbing or reaching for that side of you. You are it now, sitting here now. Your personality, your hopes, your desires, your frustrations are all the same when you leave here. It won't change how you feel. So who you are is the soul. There's no connecting to the soul. You are that now. If you can just take one thing away from this video, is try and sit with that realization as often as possible, because the world is set up very much to distract us from that knowledge. I have to be cautious when I talk about the spiritual stuff here, and I have to give a little disclaimer, and that is that I am not at all religious. I have never assigned to any religion. I wouldn't even say I was an atheist. My experiences and my teachings come from thousands of testimonials of near-death experiences and practicing and listening, practicing out-of-body experiences and listening to people who had been doing out-of-body experiences pretty much all their life, who can go back home, our true home, every night. See, we leave this realm every night when we sleep. We just don't remember. You can train yourself to remember. When you remember, you leave this realm and you can see how it's set up. So the biggest lie that's ever been told here, well, there's two, and one is that you die. Energy can never be destroyed. You do not die. I know that people have said that and it's very cliche. Energy doesn't be destroyed, but you are a soul and you are having a temporary experience here on earth. The other lie was that you need to look up to something else for your authority, and the biggest lie being that you are not your ultimate authority when you truly are the authority here and outside this realm and construct that we're currently in. So having a relationship with a narcissist may have been painful, but what it did was kick you out of an illusion. And then from that kicking out of an illusion left you hanging for a little while until you finally found channels like this one, where we really do delve into finding out who you are, what your purpose is here, and your mission, so that you can get back on track and go out there and make a big impact. Believe it or not, everything is as it should be right now. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. Everything has been planned and designed. Major events in your life are already decided. You as a soul has already mapped out. So if you choose a life, you're watching it play out. So therefore you've chosen it. Therefore it's already played out. You're here to experience that play out. And because certain life events are fixed, the way you go about getting to certain life benchmarks is not fixed. And that's why you come down to play the game, because it's not scripted 100%. As I said, it's major event markers are already set. How you get there and how you feel during that process is on you and you to have an interactive experience here. So, as I said, this Earth realm is beautifully designed as a feedback loop. It's an intelligent design only for your learning. So what lessons keep coming up that you keep ignoring? What people do you keep attracting? And how are they treating you? And be honest with yourself. Do you treat yourself the same or similar? Is there a theme here? Because Harold was trying to allude to this in the previous interview. We can take the victim perspective, but the truth is everything is set up for your education. So if you're having a hard time at the moment, you're in the middle of a lesson. Learn the lesson and move on, because if you don't learn the lesson, they will come up more and more and more. And that's why I had to have 2 breakdowns and not 1, because I just turned around and went straight back in and tried to be a better and harder working codependent than I was before. It was only when I really got my face smashed in at this time through the loss of my daughter, she's alive, but not in my life, did that give me the best education that I ever had. Because I, up until that point, had no clue who I was and what I was doing. I was just literally operating like a machine. And that was not my soul's mission. I haven't, and you haven't, come down here to live anybody else's life bar your own. So the burning question to you is, who are you? Who are you past the programs and the identities that have been set for you? As I said, it was a stripping away process for me. Who are you when you're not your job title? When you're not the mother, the father, the brother? Who are you deep beneath all of that? Do you even know? Breaking up from a narcissist is a very deep solitude experience. But when I look back at that time where I was forced to be on my own, I wished I'd used that time a little bit more wisely, because it was an education or a gap for me to really find out who I was. So if everything is how it should be right now for you, even though you might not want it that way, that was kind of set up for how your soul wanted it. And if we were to just ponder on everything is exactly how it should be in this moment right now, what happens when we surrender to that moment? Because this moment is all there ever is. The here and now, right now. How do you feel when you just sit with the realization that everything is as it should be right now? Feel that in your body. How does that feel? Leave some comments for me about that. Now, if I ask you to think way ahead into the future, we start conjuring up feelings of the future, we start getting the feeling of anxiety. Think of something in the future now, and you will feel a rumbling sensation and a discomfort within yourself. Now, if we ponder too much into the past, either do it now or just watch yourself in the future. Pondering in the past is going to make us depressed. If we bring our focus and our attention here, right now, everything is fine, everything is as it should be. And your body will tell you if your mind is going way too far in the future or way too far in the past. Just by clocking how you feel inside, you'll be able to understand how the thoughts have been ruminating around and around and where your mind has been. So when we come from an inner calm, the outer world responds. So in order to stop attracting narcissists, we must start working on our inner calm. And I know that that's easier said than done. That's why I created the Codependency and Trauma Recovery course. It's a 10-week online course where we meet twice a week, and I will help you work through all these unwanted patterns, the anxiety, the depression, and bring your body and your nervous system back down to a sense of calm. Once we strip away all that anxiety and depression, you're left and your soul's left to be able to operate your body and your life in a much more fluent, abundant, flowing way. If you're watching this around September 2025, I've opened the course up to 10 people and 10 people only, and that's to run the course live for 10 weeks. After that, it will be pre-recorded. So if you want to get in on the live, that means you can ask questions. I'm also offering a 50% discount, so I'm doing this course for half price for 10 people live. After that, the price will be double, and it will be open to everybody, and it will be on pre-recorded. So if you're interested and you'd like to apply, the link's in the description below. Through that course, I'm going to work with you to detox your body and your mind. So we've got a complete clean canvas to start with. We're going to work on all those old limiting beliefs. It's going to help addictions drop away, anxiety, depression, all of that will start to drop away. Mid through the course, we start redesigning our life from a clearer, more abundant mindset. When have we ever really sat and consciously designed our lives? I know many of us just kind of, the people we know, the jobs we do, everything ended up default. It was just there. We never consciously decided. So mid-course is really working out what you want for the future, and then the last section of the course is about helping you manifest that. As I said, you're a manifester, believe it or not. You've attracted everything so far that you don't want in your life, and this course is about attracting things that you do want in your life, but you need to do some clearing out first, otherwise you just keep attracting the same thing. So if you're really interested in that and you want to get involved, as I said, it's restricted to 10 places only. The link will be in the description and in the comments section. I think I'll leave it there for now. As I said, if you have any stories you want me to read out, send me an email. If you want to come on for an interview, send me an email. Drop me some comments about what we've discussed today. And I'll see you in the next video. In Lakesh.